Good morning, everyone. I am Alexis Landina, and for today's topic, I'm going to talk about the current trends and issues in the governmental management. So we have here the topic regulatory functions and processes. For our learning objectives is to identify the different trends and issues in the governmental management and understand the regulatory functions and processes. Okay, so what is the regulatory agency? So this is the independent governmental body established by legislative act in order to set standards in a specific field of activity or operations in the private sector of the economy and then to enforce those standards. So as we all know, so we have a lot of rules and regulations that is being created by our legislative department. So the regulatory agency, so they are the one who sets standards, they are the one who implements the rules and regulations set by the legislative department. So regulatory agency functions outside the direct executive supervisions. So because the regulations that they adopt have the force of law, so part of these agencies' function is essentially legislative, but because they may also conduct hearings and pass judgment concerning adherence to the regulations. They also exercise a judicial functions, often carried out before a quasi-judicial official called an administrative law judge who is not part of the court system. So in the regulatory agencies, so they are the regulatory boards, like we have the DTI in terms of business. So in terms of the environment, so we have the DENR. So they are the one who passed and create rules and regulations that is created by the executive department, created by the legislative department. Okay, so regulatory agencies, they are the commission systems of administrations, and their terms of office are fixed and often very long. So proposed regulations are announced in the federal registers, so when the cycle of the comment and revisions is completed. So we have now the regulatory boards. So under the commissions, so all in all, so in the Philippines, so we have 45 regulatory boards which were created by separate enabling laws perform these functions subject to reviews and approval by the commission. So what are the works of these regulatory boards? So they prepare the content of the licensure examinations, determine and prescribe the revised course requirements, recommend the measures necessary for advancement in their fields, in their specific fields. They set, inspect schools and establish their feedbacks. They adopt and enforce code of ethics for the practice, administer oath, and issue certificate of registrations. They also investigate violations, set of professional standards, and adjudicate administrative and other cases against their hearing registrants. They also suspend, revoke, or reissue certificate of registration for causes provided by the law. So what are the four perspectives on regulations? So first we have the public interest perspective. So it holds the regulations, so it developed and implemented to pursue goals that serve the public at large, generally speaking, to address market failures or to ensure just and equal welfare provisions. So the challenge for those seeking to develop and implement regulations in the public interest is that public interest is an exclusive or elusive concept. Okay, so when we say public interest perspective, so this is the goal of this is the equal provisions. So they make sure that the public has been benefited, and it has equal provisions for all. Next one, so we have the public choice perspective. So these are the regulations that hold that regulators as well as their targets, beneficiaries, political principals pursue or oppose regulations as self-interested agents. So two distinct arguments stand out on how self-interest actors affect the politics of regulations. So when we say public choice perspective, so the public has their own choice, so their free will to choose whatever they want for their best interest. Next is the private interest perspective. So these regulations holds influence, capture their target, but also their beneficiaries and political principals to such an extent that it systematically favors their private interests and systematically ignores the public interest by the private interest perspective. So mainly, when we say private interest perspective, it is much being prioritized rather than the public. So you have your hidden agenda. So your individual so you have your individual interest. Institutional perspective. So these are the regulation broadly overlap with the theories of the policy process that are well known to scholars of public administrations, such as a perspective argued that the process of regulatory change results from incremental shifts over time, such as changing in government preferences for or against regulations. So regulatory agencies that divert from their statutory objectives or large part of the industries are not following the regulatory requirements. And that ends my report. So I hope you learned today. Thank you and God bless all.